Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. It's Jimmy here from My Online Guy. Oh, we're getting a bit of feedback loop through the.
Might be my IG live, mate.
Oh yeah. If you mute your Instagram live, can he mute his Instagram live?
Yeah, I can mute it. Yep.
Because he's got it on speaker, so it's like looping through.
Yeah, you should be able to, or turn his volume right down on the Instagram.
Oh, you just turn your volume down on your phone, Joel.
Yeah, I've turned it down. Yep. All good.
Yep. Cool. There we go. Yep. So, hey everyone, we'll let a few more people come on. It's Jimmy here from My Online Guy, and midweek interviews, they seem to be a bit of a hit. The last one with Tony Lee from over at Outsourcing Like a Boss was really, really well received. It's a nice way to sort of break up the day, break up a Thursday, and we're going to make this a regular occurrence. We're going to try and do this once a week at least, and we are starting our regular scheduling off with a bang. So we're kicking this off with a bang. Today we're lucky to have Joel Kleber from who's a Chief Digital Officer at the Jims Group. Now I personally think there's very few people in Australia that haven't heard of or haven't seen one of the big green trailers floating around the country, floating around the suburbs. But you may have been hearing and seeing a little bit more of Jims lately, and the man joining us today is a big part of why that's happening. What Joel's been doing over at Jims is, like, in my personal opinion, is like an absolute masterclass on growth marketing, especially around content and what he's doing with content. And he's come on today to share some of the things he's learnt and what they're doing over at one of the world's largest franchise groups at the Jims Group. So, Joel, tell us a little bit more about yourself, and what's a little fun fact about Jim that most people don't know about?
Fun fact about Jim. Oh, where can I start? There's a lot of them. He's addicted to Nutella. So anything chocolate or Nutella you put in his face, he eats. So he can't have jars of Nutella at home, or he'll finish the whole thing in a day. So that's probably the one thing. But he's got lots of little quirks and stuff like that. We do a regular Facebook live stream and stuff, and you learn something new, everything about him all the time. It's quite funny. So he's never been to a nightclub. There's a fun fact about him. Never been to a nightclub.
There you go, guys. So if you ever want to take Jim out on the town, just avoid the nightclubs.
Yeah, I think the story he told once, I think the only time he's been to a nightclub was there was a convention or something at Crown Casino, apparently, for the UN. And then he apparently went to this, was supposed to go to this UN convention, and then actually walked in the wrong door and accidentally walked into a nightclub, apparently, and walked back out. So that's the only time he's been in there. So there's a fun fact about him.
Oh, just like accidentally, he's like, oh wait, this isn't the UN convention. Where am I?
Exactly right. We did a video about that with the old Mr. Burns, not Mr. Burns, the old Abraham, Simpson walking into the old club in Barts.
Oh yeah, putting his hat off and
So we did a clip to that story when he told us that one. It was quite funny.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, Joel.
Not really too much to say, but I can probably talk underwater. But been at Jims for around 10 years. I started here as a 2-day-a-week law clerk. Actually, I had a friend from Warrnambool who was moving back and said, "You should go work at Jims. I'll get you a job there." And basically, I rang up and got the job and started 2 days a week as a paralegal law clerk, and then sort of made my way into the insurance department, set up an insurance brokerage with another guy. He was in there for 4 years, and took on managing our documents and legal department for a while, and then just shifted into web, digital media, social media, because I saw a massive hole where we weren't doing it. We were outsourcing it to another company in 2019, and I just wasn't happy with what was happening. I basically said to Jim, "I'll run all this sort of stuff for you. It's what I'm good at. I'm sort of that younger generation. Let's get it going." Because Jims Group as a brand in 2019 had no social awareness, it had social accounts, but with like 100 followers, or the Instagram had nothing done on it. So I was like, I'm just going to grab it and just do it myself. It doesn't cost anything to Jim. So Jim's webs, nothing costs him any money. He's like, cool, you can do whatever you want. And then basically we built it from there. And then I started dabbling a bit into the using my mobile phone and started filming Jim. Because the stuff that you hear now, the business advice, the podcast, all that sort of stuff, I heard that for years. And he's a really good speaker. And then when you see Gary Vee saying you should be documenting your day and just film everything and stuff, and we started putting that to practice. I just used my phone. I started doing that, and the reaction was really, really good, because from our franchisors and franchisees, like, they just don't see that side of Jim. It's always a very negative interaction sometimes with head office, and we did our first Jim and some April Fool's stuff, and then they loved it, and basically it was like went from there. We started filming. Then I had approval to get a full-time videographer, which was Jake. He's a great fella. He's been with us for nearly a couple of years now, and then that started going really well. And to accelerate it, I got approval from another videographer. So we've got 2 full-time videographers. Content creators, we call them, because they do graphics and social media. Ben and Jake, they do a fantastic job. So they do all the clips and they do all the output, and they we do everything on Slack, and I'm just basically they work really, really hard, long hours compared to most. And now here we are. We've built a pretty big video content machine, or created some awareness and brand awareness around the actual Jims Group brand itself, because Jims Mowing is the one has all the brand, and Jim himself now has got a really good brand, and he's generating organic searches, and obviously with the lockdowns and stuff, the media, he's got a personal profile now, and that's happened in the space of probably 20 months, 22 months. So we went from zero to a pretty big machine when people research us online in that sort of time.
Yeah, well, we've spoken a lot about this, and I think, it's funny because I think it's a little bit like this dude here. I think a lot of people just assume that Jims was like the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders of the Jims Group. He wasn't a real entity. He was loosely based around a person, but there's a real Jim Penman, and he's a really quite an approachable guy, actually. Like if you for someone with that kind of profile he does. I'm sure like if you were looking, if you asked him a question about business and stuff, I'm sure, he'd find some way to answer it or, help out. So yeah, it's probably the biggest thing I think you've done is actually made people realize that Jim's a real person and that he's not some figment of the Jims Group's imagination.
Not just some corporate thing made up and character made up and whatever else. So yeah, bringing some awareness to him is the thing, because the big thing with Jims, in my opinion, like, the story of a brand is really important. We've got a great story, and no one knew the story. They didn't even know the person was real. So once you know the person is real, here's his story. And then you have all the other people who have their own stories, and how do you tell those stories, and you intertwine it, and away you go. Yeah,
so tell me a little bit more, because we just touched on it then, but it's really be interesting to know. So what was the sort of catalyst for Jims and Jims specifically, I suppose, to start taking it, content marketing especially more seriously? And what are some of the challenges you face sort of scaling this up to? Because obviously Jims is not a small business, and you basically took it from having no presence at all to where it is now. There must have been some challenges along the way.
There's a little bit, but Jim's pretty good. Like I've been here. You couldn't do it from an outsider coming in. I've known him for around 8 years before doing that sort of stuff a couple of years ago, so he trusts me a bit. So basically, I give him some audiobooks, the Gary V Crushing It and stuff like that, and I go, listen to this, because he's a massive consumer of audiobooks. He probably listens to one a week or more, two a week. So I gave him that, and then he started the stuff I was telling him. He started telling me back like he's telling me something. So once we got that, and he saw the reaction, and you had people coming into training saying, I've watched this video, or I watched you on Ask Jim, and I've watched around 8 of them. Then they would come to training. He saw the business impact. So I wasn't just doing it for the sake of doing it. There was actual outcomes from the videos or from the content we do online and from the initiatives. So the challenge is always, because we've got 45, 48 divisions in Jims, how do you equally share it? Some divisions have more franchisees than others, so they get more time. So how do you schedule it around and all that sort of stuff? And content production challenges, and we've got to try and keep making it better quality. Jim personally doesn't like doing videos, so it's sort of hard to wrangle him, but he does anything to promote the brand. So he knows that it helps promote the brand, so he'll do the video. But he can be he's not the easiest person to work with. So it's a lot easier to work with franchisees and franchisors. But the only real challenge is basically resources. We've got 2 full-time videographers, but and myself, I'm not a videographer, so but it's just basically how much more we can produce. There's a lot more things we can do, but it's just trying to make sure we use our time well. And we film one different division every week. That's the plan, and then we have 4 days for other stuff and things like that. And the biggest challenge for us was COVID. So as a business, we do training at Jims HQ, which you've been to. So we used to have around 60 to 100 new franchisees every 3 to 4 weeks come to Jims HQ. And when that stopped, we had to take the training completely online. So we were live streaming the training, and we had to make a course as well, with the Talent LMS, which is like a Moodle, to get franchisees through. And the boys here do a great job. They live stream the franchisee training still to all the prospects. But that's been the biggest challenge during it. But other than that, it's been pretty good. Jims is very lucky because Jim is the boss and the CEO. I've got no middle management I have to worry about. I don't have to get my ideas approved by anyone. I can just say I want to do this, and this is the reason why, and then we do it.
And it sounds like if Jim sees the value in it as growing the brand or helping the franchisees, he's more than happy to do it, isn't he?
Yeah, it's all about the brand and promoting the brand, and he thinks it will help the business. That's his whole mantra. If he thinks something will help franchisees, he'll do it, even if he doesn't want to do it. He'll do those types of things, So he'll go and do a TV interview when he doesn't really want to do it, probably. But if it helps promote the brand, he'll go ahead for it.
Yeah, he knows he's got to fly the flag. Someone's got to fly the flag for the brand, and the guy on the side of every trailer in the bloody country is the best person to be doing that, isn't it? Really?
Absolutely, yeah. It's the best marketing tool in gyms is Jim himself. He speaks really well. He comes across really well in media and stuff like that. So he's the best marketing tool we've got. So we might as well use him as much as we can whilst we can. Because he's a bit older now, Jim. He's 69, but he's in great shape. So he'll be around for a while. But just whilst he's here, just get as much stuff as you can with him.
Now, I just want to quickly add to guys, if you have any questions at all, you can see on the right, left, well, next to us, there's a chat box, right? So, put your questions in there. We'll answer them in real time. Obviously, Joel's a massive resource in that aspect because he has a very unique insight because of the scale. Please put your questions in there if you have them. But we'll continue on. So, obviously, I suppose one of the things I noticed with the campaign, and this is putting a marketing hat on, right? Like, obviously, I think a lot of businesses, a lot of marketing agencies too, know that this is something that works really well, but executing it is actually really difficult to do. It's like, theoretically, it's like it's one of the best ways to actually market a business, but the amount of time, energy, and effort to actually execute on it is really hard. So I imagine you've learned a few things along the way. So what are some of the the things you've learned the hard way since taking on, this really pushing the content marketing at gyms?
There's a couple of things, but the main thing is, PPE for us is a big one. If you don't have a mowing guy wearing the appropriate thing, you can have the best video in the world, but everyone's comments will be you didn't have earmuffs on, or you used the wrong thing, or did this, whatever. So, because I'm pretty loosey-goosey, the boys will know. I'm not one to fully script out and map out a day. I'm like, this is the objective, and let's go there, and I'll get what we need, and then you can edit it. But so they might not all the time know exactly, that shouldn't be there because you didn't use the right PPE or the technique or whatever it is. So that's probably a big challenge. But it hasn't been honestly too bad. Trying to get people to the biggest challenge I really have is when I do this is trying to get people to be natural on camera. Like they're great in real life, and as soon as you put the camera on or try and get content with them, they just fall to pieces. That's probably the biggest challenge I have is trying to get people to come across the same way as they do in real life. That's probably the biggest one.
So we got Jimmy tuning in. Just started his own business. He's got a laser cutting business, and so looking forward to this. Good afternoon, Jimmy and Joel, listening with full attention, dude. If you have any questions, this is the guy to ask. Like, I don't think people appreciate what Jims has actually been able to achieve in the last 2 years. And I think Joel this is the time you got full access to him. And he's told me beforehand, he's gonna answer those questions. So, all right, we might as well go to a few questions. So, cabinets, how you doing, Richard? As a business, are you guys focusing on one social media or trying to cover as many as possible? That's a good question. So
yeah.
What's the social media strategy, and where do you play?
Yeah, our primary focus is Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and that's just been with a recent strategy review. We've got Twitter and things like that. TikTok I really like personally, but as a business outcome, you can get 200,000 views in a video, but is it going to create you more leads? Probably not. It's nice to have brand awareness for young people, so that's the way we primarily use it. But you just because every platform needs different type of content, so you just be doing your head in if you're trying to create good content for like 6 or 7 platforms. It's just not possible. So you might want to pick 2 or 3 that you focus on and you get really good at. Just concentrate on those. But you've also got to make sure is that where your customers are. So there's no point having a great, TikTok following. And in my opinion, if you've got if your audience on there is 18 to 14, and if you're making cabinets, they're not probably your customers, right? So make sure that your customers are using the platform and engage with the platform. And then make sure you look at stuff you like, try and replicate it, and go from there. But focusing on a couple to start with is the key. We tried to do 2 spread at the start, and we sort of reined it in, and we focused on 3 really ones.
Because I suppose it's also how do you best allocate the time? Because I suppose I like a little punter on the street like myself, or cabinets, or what a laser cutting. It's like you may not have the time from a marketing perspective, but you do have time to you're only focusing on one business and you're focusing on it solely. But when you're focusing on 50 divisions of 48 divisions, and you got to allocate that time evenly, I suppose there's so many platforms that exist, like Clubhouse and things like that. It's like, is it worth devoting time and effort to it? That's what's the business outcome from it is the way a big business would look at it. Like, what am I,
For us, most of our demographic, are primarily on Facebook still. They're going to be looking at Facebook, got a decent following there. YouTube's great for us because, you might not get let's say 10,000 views on a video, but if you get 300, but 300 people who are watching that video are searching for franchise-related queries, they're the ones that we would directly want to speak to. So just, pick the platforms where you think you're going to have the most bang, and then repurpose your content. So if you do a video, you can get quotes from that. You can get screen grabs for pics. You can do a bunch of things. So get good at repurposing content for different platforms as well.
Well, that leads into the next question I actually had is like, it's something that I battle with. I've mapped out, one of the things I was talking to you the other day, Joel, about is that where I'm like, I've seen what you guys have done and I'm like, actually it's replicatable. I mean, it all is, right? But like you've laid out a good model for doing it because you've really kept Jim a human being and like just focused on going.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do. All of that.
He's a bit like Zuckerberg, it's like there's questions whether he's an android or not.
Yeah, but, it's very hard driven.
But that's it. But you've humanized him. You've kept him real, and I obviously that's the kind of that's where we play in the market, and so I'm modeling a lot of what we're doing based on that, these interviews and things like that. So I think this leads on to the next question is like, you talk about the repurposing of content, and obviously that's really important. So what does a week sort of look like for gyms, logistically with all that organizing and, it's not easy logistically to organize all that. So what does that sort of look like? No,
we have Ben and Jake, who are the videographers that you met. They're really, really good guys. They're really organized. They're young. They've got a lot of energy. So they're fantastic. We also obviously have another lady who helps with the newsletter, and she's got some good ideas as well. But a typical week, basically, if we have training, we could have 108 franchisees on site. So that week, the boys basically live stream the whole training for the 3 days because we have hubs set up around Australia and in New Zealand and Canada. So their 3 days is stuck live streaming the training. And then after that, we want to get through some editing. So 13 to 14 weeks a year is completely basically out for us. The rest of the time, until that goes away, hopefully mid-year, the rest of the time, basically, we try and organize 2 months in advance or a month and a half in advance. And we look at the divisions and say, what don't we have enough assets for? Which division hasn't got really enough love? And we look at the size of the division too. And then if there's someone we don't have, we'll ring them up and we'll go book a franchisee or a franchisor. We want to come and do a day of filming with you. And basically we say we want to get some customer stuff, we get some inquiry type stuff, brand piece story. And then we'll basically go out there and spend a day with the franchisee. You sort of got an idea of what we need to get. So the boys will know what shots to get, and we'll go out there and we'll talk to them and all that sort of stuff. And we'll spend a day with them and then basically get that footage done. Then the boys will work on making a pack for that and then give it to the franchisor to review. And then we'll put it into our calendar. The problem with that is that we have a really full-on calendar. Like, we have to mention 10 divisions or 7 divisions a week as well. So we then have Ben and Jake will go back through our back catalog and create graphics, or they'll create videos to then give to me and then schedule up. And then we obviously have Jim's accounts as well. So Jim's accounts just slowly tick away in the background as well, just to trying to build his personal brand really slowly and steadily. And that's been a great source of podcast interviews. And when news stories do come, reporters do go to that profile on Instagram and ask for comments and stuff like that. So typical week, and that doesn't include everything else. So Jim can walk in and blow that up and, I want to do this and I'm putting solar panels on my farm. I want you to come, it all depends. But a typical week is basically shoot with one division. The rest of the week, the boys are literally producing graphics, or they're producing video content. They're doing other requests maybe from other divisions as well. So we don't have enough hours in a week, actually. It's a very packed week.
So interesting you say that. Do you feel like growing, so like you could, from a, again, marketing hat, I suppose you could have done it in 2 directions, really. You could have gone, just focus on the franchises, focus on the divisions, really grow the marketing, grow the awareness through the individual 50 divisions, or grow Jim as a personal brand and through osmosis generate inquiries through that. But you've kind of done both. Are you seeing a good return? It's hard to obviously quantify, but are you seeing a good return from growing the Jim's personal brand as well?
Well, the numbers speak for themselves. I'm not a marketer. I've got to start at the start. I put marketing at the start. But I did a law degree at uni, so I did a law degree at uni and had no interest in being a lawyer and fell in this. But I would say, look at our numbers. In the last, obviously the economy had a big play in our push, but we're up to around 4,300 franchisees. And before 2 years ago, we're sitting at 3,900, and we sat at 3,900 for around 11 years. We're 11 to 10 years. We sat at that level, could never get past it. Then the last 2 years, we're now up to 4,350 franchisees. So I look at it that way. Where's that growth come from? It's been by the economy as well. Our franchisors aren't spending any more money on advertising. I'm going to tell you that right now. So what else has changed in the business? Well, what else has changed has been the PR, has been social media presence, has been all the content we're doing. That equates to the same growth in the group, and our unserviced leads as well have grown up exponentially as well at the same time. That's due to some internal things like customer service and things like that. Jim's really strict on that, but that's how I do it. And also Jim judges it at the training. When we have 100 prospects come in and someone said to him, I've watched 80 videos before I came here. You know what I mean? Like that's great. Yeah, but it's great for us because we know that guy who comes to training, there's nothing he doesn't know. He knows everything. You know what I mean? So in franchising in particular, there's a lot of hidden stuff, right? And you've got to inquire to then get the information. Whereas I'm the complete opposite. I think you be transparent. You put everything about your system online to be transparent, and then people who do come in and they've consumed your content will be such a better prospect and a warm lead for our franchisors. And that's the idea behind it. I don't know if that answered your question there.
No, it did. No, it certainly did. I mean, it's sometimes hard to quantify because obviously it can't be cheap for gyms to have 2 full-time videographers yourself and like just the manpower and time and effort. So and it's not like say we have a branding fund. So franchisees pay a $6 a fee month, and that goes into a branding fund to be used to promote the brand nationally. So the branding fund approved the use. Jake and Ben, they're paid fully by the branding fund. So it's actually the franchisee's money who pays for that. And in regards to your question before, we did focus heavily on Jim because I think Jim is the most interesting person about the Jims Group brand. So I used Jim heavily because, for one, to create awareness around him. 2, he's a really good speaker. But 3, that is the brand and that's the story, right? That's the Aussie dream. And then now we have definitely shifted and we're definitely going into more franchisee specific content as well. Well, yeah, it's sort of like it's so interesting because it's you have the scale and size to be able to quantify it without taking in the fact that it could just be fluctuations in the economy. Obviously, it's been good and stuff, but like to grow that amount of franchisees, the 600 franchisees, I think it was in that period, some of that has to be attributed to the work you're doing. It can't just be all economy, right? And I think
that's what I tell Jim. But
honestly, like this is the thing, because obviously the same cause and effect a smaller business would see, they just may not be able to quantify it as well. But
sure.
Like that's where I was getting at with my question is like, obviously, it's hard to quantify the return on that investment. But obviously, with the scale you guys have, it's a little bit easier to see it. But like, I think any business could really do with someone in-house that does a bit of video work or social work or things like that.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. And that's what I started as. I did it myself. So I did it with a phone really crudely. I did it. The early stuff back in the day was very, very crude. The first Jim was just me in front of my webcam with Jim. It's actually a good watch. It's quite funny. It's the very, very first one. But that's where he answers all the questions. What happened to your beard and all this sort of stuff. But it's, yeah. So I started it. So yes, if you're a business owner and you've got no money to do it, just do it yourself. People like to see real stuff on social media. So just taking a picture in your office or just do a video. Hey guys, I saw a guy from laser cutting before. I've got no idea about laser cutting. So tell me about laser cutting. You don't have to do a well-produced video to be an effective communicator with it. Just use your phone. I think people get hung up on it has to be really well produced. Our stuff wasn't at the start. I can tell you that right now. If you go look at it, and we've gotten better and better and better. And if you use your phone all the time, you'll get better as a content producer. You might upgrade to a DSLR or something. But just people overthink it too much. Just be real. Especially if you're a business owner, people want to see behind the business, meet the people. They want to meet you and form a connection with you. And video is the best way to do it. Written word, you can't, in my opinion. Form, I don't know. I know you do SEO, but the way I look at it is written word is for search engines, obviously, but video is for forming a connection. So if you are a business, and that's the way I look at it. Video is for connection, written word is for search engines. So you have to have both. Don't worry about that. But it's as a business owner, people get hung up on, I need to pay $5,000 or $2,000 for it. You might want to do that once for a produced video on your website or something, no worries. But just grabbing your phone out and just documenting your day behind the scenes, like that laser cutting one, like explaining me what laser cutting is, take me through your process, take some pictures off your machine. Just do it. People are interested in this stuff. And the thing as well, people are so self-conscious about who, like they have an imposter syndrome or, I've got everyone's got knowledge. The girls in our call center here, their job is interesting. The bricklayer is interesting. There's all these people, if you go to YouTube, especially a lot of American accounts, like you've got these lawn care guys just your backyard barrier type operators, put a GoPro in their hair and head and do a day in the road or whatever, and have 500,000 views. Like there's a market for everyone, regardless of what you do. It's not boring to people. There is a market for everyone. Like that laser cutting, people will be interested in that. There'll be a lot of people, and you can build a good
100%.
audience, but people don't think they are interesting. Everyone, and that's the one thing I learned doing this with videos with people, is like they don't think they're interesting. But when you go and you spend a day on the road with someone, mic them up, and you start talking to them, everyone's got a good story, and that's the way you got to think about it. So, and also, no one's going to promote your business for you. You've got to do it yourself as well. So, it's not just randomly going to happen. So, you've got to take action. It can be promoted for you by using an agency, no problem. But you can just start with the phone and start self-promoting yourself. A lot of people don't do it enough.
I like that is an amazing point, and we'll have to cut that out, Will, and clip this, because like it's an amazing point. Like I think people look at agencies, especially like what we do and stuff like that, as some kind of like magic pill that's going to solve all their marketing woes. But really, we're just force multipliers. It's like it's like we're there to supercharge whatever they've done. Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget that the best person to speak about a business is the owner. And, I know Jimmy, for instance, he posted on social media that he just got this new laser. I'm like, dude, that's perfect content. Like, because you're contemporaries in the space and you around them all day, you don't think they're interesting. But I'd love to see how these lasers actually, how you program it, how you put the stuff in, the amount of work that takes to layer. Because one thing Jimmy does especially is like layering, making 3D sort of layers and making it so it has depth. That stuff, it's interesting to people that don't have the laser. So like, definitely. We do the agency and we try and do a bit of marketing here and like this. And we literally sit in front of a desk all day for 8 hours. And you wouldn't think that's interesting, but then actually it's all the little things around it, like the coffee machine and like just odds and ends, like the little quirks of being in an office that if you're on the road all day as a brickie, it's actually quite interesting to see how what the other side behind the walls do, So I don't think there's a single industry or a single niche that you go, actually, it's really tedious and boring. I don't think anyone would want to know about that.
Well, people do business with people they like, and people do business, with people, regardless of how good your product or service is. If they don't like you or if they don't feel a connection to you, they might not use you. But if you're a person they can see, you've got a family just like me, you do things just like me, and everything in business doesn't have to be business as well. People get hung up on that. It has to be a fantastic post, and go back to our early Instagram and stuff. Like it's definitely cleaned up in the last 6 months, but I was just taking pictures of just behind the scenes, anything. And like and that's why I love working with Jim, is because if it's like the NAB or something, there's no way in hell I would even be able to do that, post this sort of stuff I do. But we post, just post some raw stuff. People want to know who they're dealing business with, and the more you can show them about yourself, the better it will be.
Okay, question. Actually, you'd be. So, do you sponsor every single post you make on Facebook? I find. So, this is from Jimmy. I find when I start posting more than once a day, I get almost zero interactions unless I pay for a boost. You're probably the best person to speak about that. I don't have a huge amount of experience with Facebook ads, so yeah, let us know your thoughts there.
Yeah, we do zero paid because we've got followings like 20-something thousand. So, we don't pay for anything. Back in the day, we used to do We do paid ads for franchise inquiries, absolutely, because you can't just do a franchise inquiry and people to do it. So we would definitely pay to reach people. Facebook's definitely pay to play, unfortunately. So if you're starting with a zero following, you're probably going to have to spend some money in the early days to build it up. You have to spend a lot. You want to amplify your posts. So you pick the best one. So you might go for 2 weeks, and then you look at which post has organically done the best, and that's the one you would put your money towards. But we did sometimes back in the day run like a likes campaign just to make sure the page reached. But we found that just posting consistently and posting decent stuff and using live video and stuff over time, it's a hard graft. Like we built it from zero, but you will build an audience. But if you're gonna sponsor a post, I'd just post organically as you actually do. Then over 2 weeks, pick the best one, put your money towards that, and I wouldn't sponsor every post you do over time.
I think you hit on the key point there is like it's consistency. Like, I think, Jimmy, you want to be, obviously, the transactional relationship is making something and selling to someone, right? That if you're not under any guise that's not the actual modus operandum or what you do, but then you're like, this is Jimmy, I'm the laser guy, I'm the guy that we do this for a living, but also, I try and teach people about, I love lasers. I love laser cutting. I love doing what I do. So I'm just trying to help with that. Eventually the audience will come. The audience that resonates with will find you. But you've got to, the more content you produce, the more bait you have in the water to find those people. Because there's so much, crap out there basically that if you're genuine in producing good content, it really does float to the top. Just because there's so much crap out there.
If you want to build the profile real cheaply as well, you can run competitions and stuff. Everyone loves a giveaway, and they work pretty well. It just depends on how you want to do that. So sponsor posts, do a giveaway, like this page, tag free fans, whatever it is. I know they say don't do it, but we have franchisors who do it to build their pages, and it works pretty effectively for them. So there's a little shortcut as well.
That brings up a good point. So how I actually got to meet Joel is we won a competition to go to Melbourne, right? And it was to come up with the Jims division. And so give us a little bit of a post-mortem on that. So obviously it would have cost a bit to get us over there and meet, but how did it sort of go in regards to building awareness of the group?
Oh, it definitely helped. It was our sort of dabble. We've never done anything like that before. So it was definitely good. And people spend time on our website from an SEO point of view, that page, people dwell time, people dwelling on it for a couple of minutes, 3 minutes at a time, making their logo, and they're sharing in their news feed. So it had a good overall impact, and it was a good dabble in the water to do. Because Jim doesn't normally do that. He's never done that sort of stuff before. So it was good to run that. It was good fun for him. And if it gets young people or people just, having the brand in their head, spending 2 hours in Photoshop making a Jims Group logo with whatever they want, that's a great benefit to us, and that's how we viewed it. It actually came about with the Stepmates video. So the Stepmates video, I think everyone's seen. I think the Stepmates video when it's 2 million views. You would have seen it when it's like Jim this, Jim this, Jim this, Jim this, and it went viral. And then basically, I found that we said, well, let's make a logo comp based on that. So now kids are making basketball teams with Jims Mowing and esports teams and all this sort of stuff. So it's quite interesting. And I think
Jims is a bit of a cult following like that. There's a whole cottage industry popped up around Jims gear.
I know it's crazy. Well, look, and we're sort of they're lucky that it's us, because we're not a big corporate who are suing these people. Like if someone does shirts on Redbubbles like Jims, I won't say Jims Party Supplies, for example, right? There's a lot of other stuff you can use your imagination.
Yeah.
We get franchisees or some people, just members of the public, concerned members of the public, telling on these people, going, did you know they're using your brand to do this? And Jim's like, it's okay. It doesn't really bother me too much, unless it's someone directly like a rival or something using it. But anything from a brand awareness point of view, like we've seen big at rave events, people got the big doof sticks, there's like Jim's raving sticks, and there's like Jim's raving bands, everything else, and I say to Jim, I said, it's all a good thing, if you got an 18-year-old kid who wants to have a Jim's raving stick around the thing, hopefully in 20 years' time, when he has a home, he can ring us up for his lawn, so we'll win the mine. So
yeah, I think it's just it's ubiquity is really hard to get, and he's and without trying. This is the interesting thing about the whole Jims thing, is he's almost the anti personal brand. So he's built this ubiquity without without doing anything. Recently it's come to fruition, but over the last 40 years or whatever, he hasn't really been trying to grow his personal brand. So
he doesn't like it. He's an introvert. He's an introvert. So Jim's an introvert. As I said, he doesn't like dealing with people. It's all, not saying it's forced, but it's he has to do it. But it doesn't come naturally to him, which is why he doesn't. So it's organically. As I said, we wouldn't have been able to have an outsider come in and do it. I've been there for 8 years, before I started doing it, so 10 years now. So it's taken some time, but it's been good. And that question there from Jimmy, that's an interesting one. He's saying I've got almost 1,000 followers in the first week of business, which is fantastic. That's really good. But he says I'm posting 2 to 3 times a day and feel like Facebook is suppressive. I used to feel that as well, Jimmy. When we had a bit of a growth and we had some really good posts that did well, went viral, and then all of a sudden the next day some of the posts did crap and I couldn't figure it out. We thought our page was blacklisted or something as well. So sometimes people can report your post, Jimmy. So they can report your post, and you can see the stats in that, how many people have reported it. So we post once a day. I used to post 4 times a day, 5 times a day. I saw the stats in it, people reporting the post and unfollowing the page. So we went back to once a day. So maybe take your posting down to once a day, or just check the stats on how many people are reporting the post or something like that.
That's a good point, because it's there's a bit of science. It's like some people stumble into massive followings on Facebook just being cool or whatever. Not all of us are like that. So there's a lot of science behind it. And that's where someone like myself or, a marketing agency that's what I was saying about supercharging that, because, a lot of what we do is knowing the science behind how some of this stuff works and then just amplifying it. But like at the end of the day, if you don't have the content, there's nothing to market. So like I think
it's a great point. Yeah. Content and amplify. That's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's all you guys have done is get out there, produce content, get it out. Then once it starts to work, amplify it and start to really double, triple down.
I wish I had money to boost. Everything's organic. I don't have any money to boost anything. We can produce it, but we don't have money to boost it. So you're very lucky, Jimmy, you can do that.
Where do we go? I'm admin of a few groups, and the amount of people who report business posts is unreal.
That might be the answer there. Like, I don't know how the algo works, but if you got people reporting, 2 of your posts, 3 of your posts, constantly doing it, I would say it has an effect in some way.
Oh, definitely. Everyone has a standing on Facebook from an algorithm standpoint, and that's a weighted standing based on how much you post. So if you post a lot, and the ratio between likes and like reports or unfollow or negative feedback signals is high. The reason I know that is because a good friend of mine has a very, very big Facebook page, as you're aware, Joel. And we've dug in and looked at the science behind this and seeing what posts work and what don't from that standpoint. And it is real. And Google, you would be naive to think a business worth hundreds of billions of dollars like Facebook doesn't have algorithms designed to stop people manipulating it, right? So, it's definitely there. So let's open up obviously there's a few business owners in here. I still personally think it doesn't matter the size of the business. There's definitely tactics there. So let's open up the playbook for a minute, Joel. What are some of the tactics that have been working well for you at the Jims Group?
Live video was our best thing. We did a live Q&A weekly until more recently, when it sort of got to a point where I think we done like 93 in a row or something. It's just like, well, how many more Ask Jims questions can you do? So we do like a live show at training we do now with our new franchisees, and they ask Jim any question they want, and that's a pretty cool, like its own little TV show. But use of live video was good for us. Really easy way to connect with the audience, really easy way to build an audience. Really, it's just such a good way to build personal connection. Long form, then chop it down. So have a system in place where you can get long form content and then basically
just explain what long form content is for
so follow Gary Vee and stuff, the pillar content. So you might just film something for an hour, and then out of that you might have 6 really bits of nuggets of gold which go for a minute. So you take them and then you repurpose them, and you might have some quotes you can make out of it, all that sort of stuff. So you're not just filming something for an hour and you use it once. You go into it and you look at it, well, how many pieces of content can I get? And can I repurpose them for these different channels? And that's how you make it more effective. So if you are a small business, and let's say you might get a really good video done, or you might get a day's worth of filming done, how many different ways can I use this piece of content on my various channels? But yeah, live videos was a good one. I think I don't know why most businesses don't use it. I know like Facebook's saying, we want you to use live video, and then it sort of changed a bit. But I just think it's a great tool on Instagram as well, but on Facebook to form a connection with the audience really easily.
It's the reason why businesses like Twitch are the big end of town now, because people, like I said, next, Jimmy, what I want you to do next time you fire up the laser, I want you to do a live stream doing it. Because I think you'll find, like, you think about it, right? A kid walked into this office once, and he's like, I'm looking at building a little e-commerce store for my merchandise. I was like, what do you do? He goes, I make YouTube videos. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I was like, would I know the channel? He goes, I'm a magical gamer. I don't know if you've heard of me. I've got 1 million subscribers. I was like, whoa. And so, and I started breaking down. I started probing him a little bit. And I was like, so what do you make? He goes, I make about $4 US per 1,000 views. And he gets 40 million views a month. So he makes about 40,000 a month, I think it was. So not bad, people, you think you're not interesting until you do something that makes you interesting, right? So with your because Jimmy is also a really good drifter, and he's also a world record holder in sim racing.
A world record holder in sim racing. Yeah, we have seen a few gyms of sim cars and stuff get done, or e-racing cars and stuff get done.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I find all that stuff interesting, but in his circle of friends, it's like actually everyone drifts, everyone does that. So it's like actually no one, but like people from the outside in, I'd watch you drift around a track. You know, like it's interesting content.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So I was gonna say, it just takes practice though as well. Like people feel weird getting filmed, or they feel weird talking about themselves, or they feel weird in front of the camera. It's just something where you just got to do it. Commit to 100 videos if you can, and then away you go. It's something I'm trying to apply myself more recently. So, but we probably do that with Jims. We do a video a day literally of Jims we put out. So it's just one of those things where just get over the weirdness of it. It's weird for everyone, and then away you go.
There you go. So seven world records he's got.
Well, that's very interesting. I don't. It's very interesting. So how you can tie it into your business, I don't know, but you absolutely should be promoting that sort of stuff.
And this is the interesting thing, right? Like I get it all the time, because I speak to a lot of small businesses, right? And a lot of them think that their digital marketing has to be about their business all the time.
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, actually, no, it doesn't have to be about your business all the time. You know, go and take a video of you going out and getting crabs. If you're tied into the brand in any way, as in people, you do good service and you want to be associated with that, then, you know, me doing a video of me going and getting crabs will attract that audience that resonates with that. It's got nothing to do with marketing at all, but it's just interesting content that reinforces that I'm a down-to-earth guy and I like to go fishing and I like forward driving and stuff, like just like you do. So if you want to work with someone like that, come and talk to me. And you know, that's why I like so much what you've done with Jim as a personal brand, because those people that resonate with that are really going to find that interesting. So DJ's another drifting gentleman, also has he does videography.
Oh, cool.
So he was saying, what do we got here? That was the hardest part to get over, is filming yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's not a natural skill, is it?
No, definitely not. And you feel weird, and you know, in Australian sort of culture, you know, you don't talk yourself up, and you know what I mean. Like it's not in our nature to do that. So, you know, that's why the Americans are so good, because there's no Americans actually. They're very good at self promotion and how good I am and sort of thing. But Australia, the opposite. So, got to get over that.
Honesty, yeah.
Definitely get over it, and just think that, you know, just try and just create value, and I'm going to show you. I've got stuff to offer you. I'm just not going to be afraid to put it out there. So
we got DJ. I believe in making your brand more personal and relatable to being a normal.
Oh, 100%. You know, LinkedIn's the worst one for seeing people who make this. They pay for these great photos and all these really cool graphic posts and make some things, and then you meet them in real life, they're completely disappointing. So just be real, because everyone knows, and if you're on LinkedIn especially and Instagram and stuff, like I met some of these people with massive followings and they're nowhere in what they project online. So you might as well just be yourself. It's a lot more fun and a lot less hard work.
You know, and it's so true. It's like when I first started the agency, I thought about that. There was something, I was like, you see me, I wear thong. I'm not super professional. I can be professional when I need to, and I think I carry myself professionally, but I'm not a traditionally white collar professional person. And when we were growing this agency, I said, it's going to be too hard to pretend I am the whole time when someone catches me slipping because I'm wearing thongs, and they're like, well, there's a complete disconnect between the brand and you in real life. You're better off just being real and attracting those people that find that resonate with that. And you're so right. That LinkedIn is shocking for that. There is so many people on there that just like, you know, they're photos from like 15 years ago or something, and it's like they had hair and now they don't, and put in 20 kilos. And
I get up a lot of inboxes, and we do a few meetings with some people sometimes, and the difference between what they put online and to what you meet in person, and just in regards to the whole package as well, like, you know, the much content they've got is quite funny. So just be yourself is the best. I know it's a cliched advice, but, you know, when it comes to online stuff, now I reckon 5 years ago, like, you know, it was probably the place to have a really strong personal brand and really professionally done headshots and graphic cards and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I use them, but people want more authenticity now because it's so saturated with people like that and the fake gurus and sort of entrepreneur type people out there. So might as well be yourself.
I've just had one of the team here waving. You need to unmute your Instagram.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm on mine. All good?
Yep. There we go.
Yep.
Okay. So now the other question I had was, and I'm a big process nerd. I'm a process nerd in theory. In practice, maybe not so much, but I love learning to be more efficient and process driven. Obviously, you're you run a pretty lean team, right? For considering the amount of content you produce, and you spin a lot of plates. So, what are some of the processes, and what are some of the things you do, yourself to make sure nothing slips out past the paper?
The boys will laugh at this because I'm not very process driven, and they'll know that. So we've sort of got our newsletter lady who helps a bit with the processes, but we use Monday. So Monday's a great bit of software. So everything goes into Monday now. We use Slack. They're basically the two things. Monday and Slack, all our conversations, everything happens in Slack and our transferring of content. And in Monday's our schedule, and we try and do our posting schedules and our shoot days and put everything in relation to the task there and our notes on the task there. And then away from that, the boys will then go and create the pieces of content. We do organize content now into like B2C or B2B, and we have different types like educational, inspire. Then each content type will have examples with it. So for example, if we do a mowing shoot and we know we need to get 5 clips out of it, one needs to be B2B inspire, B2C customer, B2B advice, B2B entertainment, or whatever it is. The boys will have relevant content examples to work off, and then they're up to them to then make a clip from what we've captured. So that's how it really works. And then we basically look at it, make sure it's all good, caption it up, upload it, and away we go. So, but our two main tools are Slack, Monday, and obviously the boys use a full Adobe suite.
Yeah. So Premiere Pro and Photoshop and Illustrator and things. So
I'm not process driven though. I'm very not process driven.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I sort of get that from Jim. Jim's a complete ideas man. Like Jim will go, I want you to go get this done, and then won't care about the 50,000 consideration lists that they need to go. You got to get this done. So I'm sort of like that.
High level outcome driven sort of.
Yeah, I'm sort of like that for my boys. My boys, I'm sort of, they're really process driven, and they're really organized and stuff with their folders and things. I'll say, look, we need to get a video with this division. This is what I want. Go organize it, and they'll go organize it, and then away we go.
I think that comes down to finding the right people to work with too. I mean, you've got to have people that are, that are that way, that you trust enough to be able to do that process with as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm very lucky. We got, Jake and Ben are fantastic. So Jake was my first hire. I think he was only 22, 21 when I got him from Sweeney Uni, and came on a character reference from one of our staff here. So I've learned to hire on characters. I have hired people in the past, and forget resumes. You hire on character first. And then I had a character vouch for him, because when I put this role out there, we had a lot of applicants, and then ex-Neighbours producer and all this sort of stuff. It's been, and Ben's been fantastic. I knew Ben actually through soccer, and he's a good character as well. I knew he'd be fine. And hiring character first, and then skills and stuff. They had, and we were very lucky. So I got very lucky with the hires.
I think that's a good point. We basically, I've sort of spoken about in previous podcast streams about our hiring process, but like honestly, in the 21st century, you can just about learn anything with the internet. So like maybe if you're a doctor, you'd want to be hiring based on resume, maybe. But
of course, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but like for 99% of businesses out there, it's like actually you can teach 99% of it through a combination of personal experience and YouTube. So they don't necessarily need to know exactly how to do it. They just got to have the right personality to be able to take the information and run with it.
The great thing with content production is it's getting a lot cheaper. Like back in the day, you had a production company, you'd have to pay for all this, and this, and to get a TV ad done, whatever now. And like, there's so many really good young creative videographers or people who do digital media and stuff. And there's not really that much work in companies for them, because companies still haven't woken up to the fact that if you are a big company and you can afford an internal videographer, content creator, it's so worth having them. So I think we're ahead of the curve with businesses with this sort of stuff, because I just think it's such great value for money. We've got our own internal full-time marketing digital agency when we're not officially that role, but that's what we have available to us, and it's not really that much of an expense when you compare it to the size of the company.
Yeah, exactly. So Jimmy said, I've looked at my stats on one of the best posts yesterday, 40,000, 9,000 organic reach, man. That's huge. That is, there's big corporations that don't get that. So, credit where credit's due. So definitely Facebook expression on my post. One post a day from now on me. Thanks for the great advice. Would never have looked at that. Firstly, 49, like I said, I've got a friend with a Facebook page with 500,000 followers, right? And he gets that at the best on his best days. So you must be, I don't know what kind of post it was, but maybe we need to ask what kind of post got that kind of reach. But honestly, man, like, I think the problem with Facebook is a relatively mature platform now. Like it's been
Yep.
around for 15 years, 17 years. I think people are just getting the blindness to content. So like that's why it's important to do the real stuff, because you need it to almost blend in with the rest. There like 10 years ago there was more real stuff and less professional driven stuff. Now actually it's flipped around, and in the 21st century there's more professional stuff than there is real stuff. So the real stuff actually gets all the engagement because there's just less real genuine stuff on Facebook, and it's more like positioned by companies and people trying to sell stuff, and it's thinly veiled. So like you get there and do the real stuff, you can really get the eyeballs. And then Jimmy just said, honestly, no idea how I did that. I'll send a screenshot later. Cool. I love seeing the hacking, that side of it. Now, a couple of last questions. I know you're a busy man, so we won't take up
That's
too
all
much
right.
more
No,
time.
all good, all good.
Excellent. Obviously, oh wait up. Okay, I just got an impromptu question off Insta. So how did you both get started in the industry? Okay, well you might as well answer first, Joel. So how did you get started in the digital space?
By accident, by a complete accident. We were, as I said, well, 2 years ago, I was running our documents, legal and compliance department, and putting systems in place, and then saw an opportunity where our company was doing nothing in this space, and it's just evolved from there. So it's been by accident. I'm sort of lucky. Our franchisors, we have around 350. They all deal with digital marketing agencies in some form. So I've sort of picked up over the years, learning from that organically. So there was no intention on my behalf to fall into that space from the person who asked that question.
Yeah, so that was a Wanderlust Nomad. I mean, I've answered this before, but it's always good to rehash. I've been doing marketing for a long time, but just for myself. So like, I've got a lot of. I'm a gentleman that has a lot of fingers in a lot of pies. So affiliate websites mainly. Just so basically, I get asked a lot what affiliate websites are, because I use that as my pitch for a lot of SEO. Basically, so what I did is I create content like written content. So basically take a website, write a heap of blog posts, and then start to sell products through those and get a commission. So like, I'll sell like a 4-wheel drive air compressor. They'll make $600 on it. I get 5%. So you can make a lot of money doing that if you can generate the traffic. So part of having that many affiliate sites is you start to learn how to generate traffic organically, because when you're only getting 5% of a product, you can't afford to use any paid advertising to get it. So the only way you can generate the traffic is through search. And so I've just over like the last sort of 10-ish years, worked out a lot of really good ways of generating inquiries or generating sales in that case, but like there's the same end result. So so like a lot of affiliate sites, a lot of content, and then a couple of years ago we wanted to move back to Mandurah, so we started taking clients on, and the affiliate stuff has gone to the wayside because the client stuff's blown up, and so we just help other businesses generate inquiries through the internet. So that's me. Now the question I was going to ask you, Joel, is obviously you've been doing this a couple of years now with Jims. You've learned a lot along the way. Go back in time, what would you have done differently, or what would you have done from the start that you kind of do now but didn't at the time?
Probably plan our content a lot more. I don't really overly plan it. It was just more of a gut feel. Probably plan a lot more. Get some systems in place, some like run sheets and some templates for questionnaires for ZORs and what they want to achieve, and being a bit more and guarded with time. Because back in the early days, I used to make us film 3 to 4 days a week. Like, there was no time to edit it, but I just wanted to make sure the franchisors saw value, because their franchisees are paying for it, to make sure we could get as much filming as possible. And the end product wasn't as good. And then after a while, sort of like, hey, your end product's not that good. You need to fix it up. So now we do 1 day a week filming, and the rest of it's editing and making sure we produce content with what we've got currently and pump out. So trying to do too much at the start was the advice. So maybe take a step back and make sure you got systems in place and plan it and things like that. So that would be the biggest bit of advice.
And what would you give advice? So like, you got Richard, Jimmy, you got a few other business owners in here. What advice would you give from the sort of the other end of town? What kind of advice would you give a business that's sort of thinking about getting into content marketing, which is just for context for everyone, this umbrella. So you got like digital marketing, which is the broad umbrella term, and then you got SEO and ads. This is like the content marketing sort of side of it. It can also be a bit of growth hacking depending on it's done, but like content marketing is basically what you're doing there at Jim.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give someone if they're thinking of to do a little bit of content marketing?
Yeah, don't assume people know you. Don't assume people know what you do. Don't think you're boring, and don't think you're not interesting in any way. They're my 4 sort of things that I think I come across is people don't think they're interesting, and they don't think what they do is important. They don't think they don't have confidence in themselves to put themselves out there a bit. You've got to do it. If you are in business, you've already taken enough confidence of a step to go, all right, I'm going to work for myself, which is a scary thing in itself, which I don't think, people don't think starting a business and going full-time in a business is probably the hardest step you need to do. And so everything else should be a lot easier for you. So just get out there and just start documenting. Don't let lack of tools or money change your opinion on it. Just use your phone. Your phone videos do really well as well if you do good ones, or just take photos on your phone, document your day. But as I said, take people in behind the scenes, document your day, show what you do. It is interesting. There is a market for everything, regardless of what your business is. And shamelessly, I'm not saying shamelessly self-promote, but just don't fall in the habit of thinking, people aren't interested in this and whatever. Like if you're building an audience from scratch as well, you're going to find that you're going to do a lot of work for not much rewards, but over time you'll start building and away you go.
I'm going to shamelessly plug myself here for a minute, because I think it leads in a great segue. Something we've been offering to businesses, basically if they ask, we don't advertise it, but one of the biggest hurdles I've seen with people doing content marketing is they got staff that are like a little bit older or whatever, and so like they go out in the field and they take a photo and there's a finger over the corner or it's out of. So what we've been offering is like workshops, taking like a business that's got a few staff members that they want to grow their content, because the best people to get the content are the guys in the field, right?
Absolutely.
So we've been just doing a few workshops, just teaching people how to frame a photo properly, what kind of things the business to take photos of, just giving them an idea of like, look, when you're out in the field, get this photo, try getting it from this angle for this reason. So just a bit of like a workshop, 1 or 2 hours, to help businesses sort of work out, okay, we're going to start on a content strategy. The first part of it is content, because what I will say, my bit of advice there is that you can only capture that content once, right? So like if that person out in the field doesn't take a photo of that awesome job and doesn't take it properly, you can't just go back the next day and take it. So like you've got to like capture the moments as they happen. And then if you do nothing with them now, that's fine, but you've still got that content. You got the collateral. So you're better off capturing that content from day one, even if you don't do anything with it right now, so that when you work with someone like myself or, like an agency that wants to like grow your social media or whatever, they've got a library of stuff to work with. Because I don't know how many businesses I've spoken to. I'm like, okay, cool. You want to do social media? What kind of photos and stuff do you have? Where's the content? And they're like, yeah, I've got some old photos on my phone, and it's like, actually, we kind of need more than that. Hey, you got to start getting this stuff. So definitely, that's what I would suggest people do. DJ just mentioned the goal of my business is to lift the veil on people's businesses and show customers what's done, and it's awesomely rewarding. Totally agree. Yeah. Look, DJ, we've had lengthy conversations about this. You're definitely aligned in that aspect, and I think.
What's the business? What's his business?
Videography.
Oh, sorry, he's videographer, yeah.
So I think Joel is right. I think what you do, what Joel's doing, for it amazes me that there's not every single company with a large turnover isn't doing this. It's like, if you see the tangible value of it, but like, yeah, you are in like the very, very beginning of a new industry that's just going to blow up one day. One day you'll wake up in the morning, next thing some Elon Musk tells everyone, or like the content becomes in vogue, and next thing you'll have people knocking your door down because they've missed the early train, and now they're trying to get on. And then when you're in demand and everyone's asking for the same thing, that's when the prices start to go up. So you get in now while 1 in every 10 businesses even thinking about it. So that when 9 in every 10 businesses are thinking about it, you're not paying a premium for it.
Yeah, I still think it's a very undervalued service. I think, videographers, we're sort of lucky with our guys having full-time staff. But if I had a company of 20 people, like, and if I'm paying an admin person 60 grand and I've got a choice between an admin person and a video person, like I'm going to the video person. Like, what helps my business more? Internal administration or creating content I can then show everyone to get more customers or to build more affiliation with my brand. Where's the better business value? To me, it's in that sort of stuff as opposed to other wastage that a lot of larger businesses especially will have with a lot of positions. I don't know why. You're sort of slowly seeing it. Like ANZ have started doing a mental health podcast with Brad McEwen and Dylan Alcott and stuff like that. So they're dabbling in digital media a bit as well. Not doing the selling by selling thing, but they'll do a podcast about mental health sponsored by ANZ, right? But it's all produced by them. So they're slowly sort of waking up to it. But I still think there's a massive disconnect between I'm going to be very ageist here, but you got your board of directors who are 60, 65 years old. They don't understand the digital media consumption of the 20 to 30-year-old, 40-year-old person. That just don't understand it. There's still a large disconnect, and which is amazing with me franchising. Like, we're putting everything out there. If I'm other franchise systems rival to Jims, I can see what we're doing, and yet they just don't. They're just traditional marketing methods. I'm not going to say a company, but there's a company with a really personable founder, a rival, and he would be perfect for this type of stuff, and they just don't do it, and I just don't understand it. So there's still a massive amount of opportunity for a business in terms of treating yourself with the digital media arm, regardless of what you do.
And also from a marketing perspective, this is the hat. The most defensible thing you can have as a business is a really, really strong brand. You look at Jims, right? Jims traditionally charges a premium for their service relative to competitors. Yep. But it's also like the brand's so strong that it's like people, and it's like what we do. It's like you have a strong brand. It's almost impossible to take it. Like if you really do a good job of that. Cabinet mate, Richard, you may think it's not really your jam, but like if you grow cabinets and you grow that brand to be really strong, then when you go to quote, they recognize the brand, like, oh, actually I'll work with him because I've been watching his videos. He does good work. He really cares about what he does. It's impossible for someone else to just undercut you on price because they're like, well, actually, I'm just going to go with the person I know does good work. And that's...
Well, if they've seen your question, if they've watched your video before even quoting you, you're most likely going to hopefully win the job anyway because they know who you are and, they've got a connection with you. So that's what you'd hope as well.
So we've got a couple of questions here. So good to hear someone in a bigger business that has the same vision. It's refreshing to hear, Joel.
Well, Jim prides himself not being a big business. He hates corporate, doesn't wear a suit. I wear thongs and shorts to work, and if it's hot in summer on the 2 days in Melbourne, and the boys in here as well. So it's sort of it's sometimes that people go, why? Imagine if you corporatize Jims. Well, it's like, what's the biggest franchise in the Southern Hemisphere? Imagine if you corporatize Jims. Like, what's it going to do to it? So I'm sort of lucky that our founder has that that really personal, small business mentality, sort of in a way, which allows us to do things like this.
And then cabinets. 2 questions. Have any of your posts or content surprised you? Let's start with that. Have you had any posts or any content that's genuinely surprised you with the amount of engagement or reach or anything like that?
Yeah, the Ask Jim was getting, when we got the Ask Jim going, I think during COVID as well, it was, and one of the couple of the podcasts we did with Jim during COVID, franchise, it was their best source for franchisees to know what's going on. Because Jim's not one for big emails, so he doesn't send unnecessary emails to a group as a franchisee and stuff. And when COVID happened, I think our live stream had like 450 watches for like an hour, which is not huge, which is not too bad when our average viewership was like 100 to 80, watches at a time, and for a show, which was massive. So it just showed you that people did know it existed and they could go there for their source and got the information straight from the horse's mouth and the way they went. We've had a couple of viral things like the old Jim's toilet paper delivery when that sort of all happened in March, which was quite funny. That one surprised us just how it went. But probably the Q&A where it's just ask Jim and you can ask him anything he wants and then he'll answer it. And we get some tough questions. Sometimes ex-franchisees jump on disgruntled. Jim, you took all my money or whatever, and Jim will just address it and provide reasons why, and then they end up, the person who says it ends up looking silly. So the live streaming, the power of the live streaming for us and being consistent with it is probably the one that surprised us the most.
Jim's pretty honest to a fault too.
No, a lot of time. I used to get franchisors complaining, going, good 55 minutes, and this 5-minute bit when he said this, and it's just like, I used to get that all the time. But it's okay. It's okay.
So this, I know that Jim had a bit of a stoush, or probably still has a bit of a stoush with Dan Andrews over in Victoria. A lot of our people are in WA, but that
there was a theory that he pushed him down the stairs as well, which he didn't push him down the stairs. He doesn't go out of Middle Park too much. That was one
I was
online.
going to say he's not the biggest guy in the world either. I think Dan would have a bit of different weight class there. A push, but I think so. The other question that was asked is. Are your posts aimed to create more business or just to promote the brand?
No, really good question. Initially, like the whole thing about it was basically the business advice or the rants I used to get from Jim about business and philosophies and stuff was just to put it in the public. So Jim's original book title was Selling by Not Selling. And that's sort of trying what we do. Saying that though, we do have direct brand promotional pieces, but a lot of stuff with Jim's, we still got a problem with an awareness of the divisions and stuff. And like giving an example, like Jim's Jumping Castles and Party Hire, we just sort of released, and that piece of content we do for them is going to be more promotional, making you aware that it exists. And then if we do mowing pieces, we do a thing called the Mow Show, which is an 18-minute web show on gardening, like a Better Homes and Garden style, but with mowing. And it's all about providing you advice and tips in the garden. So that's not a selly, obviously, but the divisions who maybe need a bit more of a boost, that content will be a bit more salesy and a bit more, this division exists, this is what we do, and this is what we can do for you. Whereas if it's a larger division, we try and skew to more advice and behind the scenes sort of stuff, because people are a bit more aware about it.
Build its profile and awareness. Yeah. So one of the things a lot of people don't know is actually, Joel, you have a podcast yourself. So tell everyone a little bit about the authentic. I listened to a couple of hours, so it was really quite interesting. So tell people a little bit more about Authentic Convos.
Yeah, so I've actually literally rebranded it like yesterday, and I bought a new domain name and everything. Yeah, so I was like, because I didn't want to do a podcast with it. Probably a lot of people, everyone's got more interest in just one thing, right? Most podcasts, you've got to have a niche, right? And I said, no, I don't want to do a niche. I've got a few connections in sports and business, and I know I dealt with different people from different fields, so it's hard to niche down. But I've sort of changed it to it's going to be called Lived Experience Podcast. It's going to be called The Lived Experience. So basically, I've just got the cover done the other day. I'm going to rebrand my socials and got a website and stuff. So basically, podcast is about creating content for people who have a family member with a mental illness. So my background is basically single mum with bipolar type 1, always in and out of psych wards and stuff like that. And growing up, there was no content, no resources around that sort of space, and there still really isn't that much. A lot of mental health content is all about depression and anxiety. There's nothing really about bipolar, schizophrenia, or kids who grow up with parents with these sort of conditions. And it's 250,000 kids in Victoria have a parent with a mental illness, so or mental condition. So there's no content for those people all around that sort of subject really that I know about. So that's where the podcast will be going, and that's where it's going to go. So and we call people who lived experience. That's why it's called the lived experience, is because people or kids who grow up with those parents, they're called lived experts, or they've had lived experience. So it's sort of going that way now, and that's going to go that way.
This is the thing with the internet, right? Like, everyone, it's a promotional tool, it's everything there, but like, if the internet the way it did existed when I was a kid, I actually think my life would have changed a lot. And I say that purely from the perspective, like I didn't even finish year 10 right, for context. So like I didn't even finish school, but I managed to get into the Navy, and that sort of righted the ship a little bit. But like, I actually learned like almost everything I know now from the internet. This is why I spend so much time, and I'm so passionate about people growing on the internet, because like everything, people think I'm really reasonably well versed. It comes from like just learning things on the internet. Like I just go on YouTube and I just watch and learn about random things, because it's like, actually that 20 years ago, that was getting an encyclopedia out and just like randomly looking up things in an encyclopedia and reading about it. But the access to information, I know everyone talks about like the protecting your children and all the negative parts of the internet, but people forget the good parts of the internet. And that's the fact that basically the whole world's information is available to pretty much everyone. And it's been a big leveling of the playing field, because, like to really get a really good education, like 25, 30 years ago, you had to go to the right school. You had to get that information delivered the right way for you. And then you had to get to go to university that really reinforced that. If you didn't have that path, there's no other way through it. So like that's what I mean. Like, digital marketing stuff like that. Any business owner can learn how to do it. What I know, anyone can learn. Whether you have the time and inclination or whatever is different. But like, it's the great leveler. The internet has been the great leveler. And I think, like you said, if you go back in time and, if you had access to this podcast, 20 years ago or whatever, like what outcomes would have changed for you? And that's, so I think what you're doing is really good, Joel.
Yeah, I'm going to double down on it. I sort of dabbled in it, and it's just like with my work schedule's pretty crazy. I do pretty long hours at gyms, and because I love the brand, I love gyms. It's my passion, so I do long hours because I like it. But it's something I'm going to really sort of try and focus on and be consistent. Maybe if it's once every 2 weeks or once a week. And basically, the best way I think to communicate stuff in that is not to provide, it's just more through storytelling and for conversations with people who've been through similar things and their experiences. And when someone listens to that, they can go, hey, I'm not alone. I sort of know, because that's the one thing growing up, as you said, you didn't know the internet, and you're the only kids in school who you sort of knew that were, going to foster homes or whatever it was. So you didn't know anything about anyone else or resources and stuff. So it's more about that. And there's a few organizations in Melbourne who deal specifically with this issue. So it's more about, promoting them, and hopefully they can get some more funding and stuff like that, because there's a monopoly in mental health, primarily with depression and anxiety. There's a lot more issues and stuff which fall in that space which don't get enough attention, and this is one of them.
Oh, good. Well, you've got to. I think everyone's got a social responsibility, in my opinion, to help better society in whatever way or whatever capacity that is. It's just being part of being a good citizen, and I think if you can do your little bit to help, in the whatever capacity you can, I think that's worth doing. And,
sorry to interrupt you, but what sort of and so DJ said there about you got to have lack of execution or to drive it. Yeah, exactly right. You need passion. So that's what I'm passionate about. Because when I was doing it, sometimes it was a chore. So I'm really passionate about it. So that's something I'm going to throw myself in. But what done it for me, I was at a party basically, and a bloke from Warrnambool I haven't seen for years. He's probably 10 years older than me and stuff. And he listened. I don't think he left a review on the podcast or liked anything on it. But then he tells me at a party, he had a few beers, and I listened to this episode with Hogs, and it really hit me up. And he told me all these issues been going for like half an hour, and it actually helped someone. I'm like, well, he's going to a psych now, a counselor and stuff, and it's actually helped someone. You know what I mean? So that's the whole thing with content or anything you do is, try to. It's very cliche. Just you got to give value. But when you know that your value has actually resulted in helping someone, it does drive you on and consolidate your mind about doing content or whatever your business or whatever you're trying to do.
And I think that's a great point. It doesn't even have to be something as profound as that, because obviously that's a very, very profound thing to really help someone with their mental health and things. But like, for instance, okay, you do a bit of content about cabinet making. It may help someone not get scammed out of, or get poor workmanship because they understand what's good and what's bad. Like, it doesn't have to be as profound, but like, that's what it was saying about not being interesting. I think if you actually distill that down, what that means is that actually, if you're providing value to the internet and you can help someone, like with your information, you can help educate someone, and that may be educating them on the process, how laser cutting works, or it might be on how to build a cabinet, or like some of the things that make a good cabinet. That will help them in some way. If that helps them in some way, then then you're providing that value, and that value eventually leads to some kind of tangible result, whether like it's your mate going and getting mental health, or it's someone not getting ripped off with the cabinet, or using you for cabinet making. It's like if you peel back all the layers, it's all the same thing. It's just the cause and effect is a little bit different. But yeah, no, it's a great point. I think I think what most people will find, and it's why I continue to do content, even though we're super busy at the minute, is because once you start helping people and you genuinely are actually just helping people, not trying to thinly veil it as some kind of ad, you're just trying to provide value to people, it's actually quite fun to do. And I really love doing these interviews because you learn stuff about people, and people will get a lot of value out of this. And I don't care if it generates business for us or not. It's just nice to talk to interesting people that have interesting stories. And we just do it on, like you said, you've got to have some kind of niche, and ours is marketing. But I think there's a lot of people out there that are going to get a lot of value from just your energy and stuff about how you've approached it, and maybe it's enough to get them to start. And once they start, then this interview's achieved what it needed to achieve.
Yeah, I hope so, and that's the whole point of it. You put out something with no expectation of return. that's the way you got to look at things, and that's the way. And the guy DJ said, passion. You've got to be passionate to keep going when you get no audience. When you get no audience, if you like what you do, you're going to keep doing it, and then eventually you'll get an audience. But people find it hard to get to that stage. So make sure it's something about you like. If you try and force it, you're just going to wear out, especially now when it's a lot harder to get organic reach on things. So if you started, let's say, I've had this question before, how do I start a YouTube channel and make money? Well, if you're starting a YouTube, you can make a video, but you could pick a topic like there's a really good lady. I don't know, I'm not bagging her at all. Her name's Vanessa Lau, Vanessa Lau, and she has hacked her formula. She's an ultra smart person, but all her content is very, very generic. But she's hacked the business formula, and it's all like she's got like an Instagram Boss Academy and all this sort of stuff, and very generic sort of advice stuff. But she's just hacked it, and she's just consistent, and she makes a heap of money out of it. Ruby Lee's another one. Ruby Lee's one of these coaches, spiritual coaches, and it's $1 million coach. But a lot of the stuff they've done, you could sit down and do a similar formula to them and replicate it, absolutely. But would you have the passion to do it for a year or two to get to where you need? Probably not. So you've got to be passionate about whatever. I'm not bagging those people out. I'm probably sounds like I am. I am a little bit, but you can. There is a formula to make money online about stuff you're not passionate about, absolutely. But is it something you can do? Is it going to sit well with you? And so make sure it's what you actually like doing.
Oh, that is so true. It's like, and it's 10 times worse in my industry because anyone can create a course and sell it.
Oh, these entrepreneur, fake guru people, it's just absolutely. I've been done by a couple of them. Don't worry about that. Dan Locke back in the day when his YouTube ads come out, my cousin is a dairy farm back home saying this. He goes, get on this Dan Locke guy's a gun, and my cousin's a dairy farmer in country Victoria, and this is before the Entrepreneur series sort of on him, and you see the ad and you think this guy's legit. He's made all these 7 figures from copywriting. You just because you don't think outside of it, you does the hard sell, and all these new entrepreneurs like CoffeeZilla and stuff have come out and exposing these people, and it's been the best. It's so fantastic what they've done for people to save them money. And you heard about these poor people who got scammed in these high ticket closing courses and losing 20-30 grand. These poor American blokes to these fellas. So
guys, CoffeeZilla,
Cornelia. Spencer Cornelia is fantastic. Yeah,
and
Mike
guys,
Winnett.
This is Mike. So this is the hot tip. If it has a 7 on the end of it, a 7 on the end of the price, there's a good chance that it's a entrepreneur. That's anything
made with click funnels. Avoid anything made with click funnels and a really elongated landing page copy. Saying that, there is one good company I recommend who might feel like they're called Founder, FOUNDR.
Good with an R.
So I arranged an interview with Nathan and Jim back in the early content days, and I've done a few of his courses with a few of their people, and they're really like Greta Van Riel, founder of Skinny Me Tea and all that sort of stuff. They're fantastic. So that's the one I would vouch for. But those other type of people, like there's so many of them, I feel so sorry for people and for that sort of stuff now. But saying that, their formulas, what I'm saying is, you can set out with those formulas and make money online, but you've got to be passionate about what you do. And if you're scamming people to make money, I don't know how long you're going to last.
Well, those people are passionate about passion. Their passion is making money, I suppose.
Correct, exactly right. This is the formula to make money, and that's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
And a lot of those people are actually like what you would consider like sociopaths. Like they have no regard for people's emotions or anything. They don't care if they're ripping people off. Whereas most people have that sort of natural, like, actually, I don't want to rip people off. I want to provide value. And honestly, that's the key takeaway of this, guys, is like, honestly, if you're doing good work, you shouldn't ever be ashamed to tell people about it, because you otherwise, that's a natural part of business. But also extend that reach by using content, using video, using social media, using platforms to extend that reach, and just realize that you may not find it interesting, but Joe Blow on the street will. And the more you produce of it and the more you provide value, the better outcomes you'll get from it and the better return you'll get on that time. I think that's the big takeaway from this, speaking to you, Joel. But Joel, obviously we'll wrap this up as one of the longest and one of the most popular ones we've done so far. So Joel, where can people find you, and where can people find you, and where can they go to catch out a little bit more the work Jim's doing, and even just your podcast? Yeah,
sure. So you can follow, just type in Jim's group. We've got Facebook, Instagram, and stuff like that. So we're all very active on that. Jim Penman, I run his social accounts. So I tweet as Jim. So it's Instagram. I run his Instagram and stuff, but it's Jim doing it, but not really. But if you go follow Jim Penman, the Jim Penman on Instagram, Facebook, and we have a podcast as well, the Jims Cast, which we basically use just to take the Facebook Live video and put on that. So that's got some interesting stuff. Our YouTube channel, I think, has got some really good pieces of content, which you can go down the rabbit hole as well. My personal stuff, the podcast is called the Authentic Convos Podcast. Name is going to change anyway, so if you subscribe to that, it's going to change on the platform. And just Joel Kleber, Instagram. Give me a follow if you want, or happy to answer any questions. Facebook as well. I think Authentic Convos Podcast is a page. I've got Joel Kleber just set up, so really easy to find. Punch me into LinkedIn, send a connection. If you've got any questions, happy to answer. And hopefully people got some value from this and wasn't just me rambling about it. Because as I'm not a marketer, and this is the thing, I know you said content marketer and stuff. I don't view myself as a marketer, which is probably a strength in a way, because I'm not one for going and getting surveys and plans, marketing plans, and testing audiences, then retesting. And it's not what I am. I'm sort of gimified in a way. Let's do it. Let's just get it done. Make mistakes. Apologize later. Away we go.
Yeah, and I think that's keeping it that's the secret in it. It's like you can sit here and pretend to know everything about it, but actually it's just parting the knowledge that, parting what's worked and what hasn't with what you're doing is more valuable than going back to the course. Oh, actually, I've learned everything. Here's a course for $997.
Yeah.
And I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about it. It's like, actually, it's better this has always been our big theme, is like I try and get people on here that are willing just to help. And, the hour that, we've been on here, or follow-up questions someone may send you, will have more value to you a lot of the time than a $700 course. Because it's, when you got people that genuinely want to help and genuinely just want to be useful and helpful, you'll get a lot out of that. So, thanks, Joel. Thanks so much for your time. And, look forward to continuing to watch Jims grow. I throw the old question in there. You probably see that. I throw a question in the mix in the live streams, and I'll continue to do that. But any questions, guys, make sure you hit up Joel. Make sure you hit up the Jims group. Give it a follow. His live streams are fantastic. And make sure you get on the lives and ask Jim a question, because he's always answering all kinds of questions.
Ask him silly stuff. Don't ask the business stuff. We've had that. Ask him. He loves history, science, but ask him some crazy stuff and he'll answer it, as long as it hasn't got swearing in it. But ask him anything you want.
Excellent. All right, thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you all next week, same time.
All right, thanks Jimmy.
Guys.
Thanks.